At the beginning of this year, I set out a challenge for myself to sort through my stash, as it had taken on a life of its own and was becoming much more a collection of things to be admired, as opposed to a resource wherein I can pull from and create things with. So I set out that challenge, and I feel like I've been very successful. I have bought fabric throughout the year. I've tried to not buy fabric as often, and when I am buying fabric, to buy it in lesser quantities, like only buying what I really need, or if I have a specific project in mind for that thing. And this past summer, I think, was like the peak of me really using my stash, as I made 45 projects in total, and that took a wrecking ball to the level and the quantity of things that I had in my stash. Now, my goal is never to completely sew down my stash. I like having a fabric stash. I like having a variety of fabrics that I can pull from at any given moment. I also enjoy going out and purchasing new fabrics, so that's also not something that I intend to change. But like I said, 45 projects, mostly from my stash, definitely depleted my stash in very specific areas, as in the summer months I tend to sew a lot with like woven fabrics. So my linens, my cottons, my cotton polyester blends, my thrifted sheet stash, all of those things have pretty much been depleted, which means that it is time for some fabric shopping. What's up, guys? If you are new here, my name is Julie, and on this channel I do journey through creating the curated wardrobe of my dreams with my own two hands. Thanks so much for being here. Today I want to share with you my most recent fabric excursion. So as I said, I have a pretty big gap in my fabric stash, particularly in the department of wovens. And that presents a challenge because right now I am working on developing a specific pattern that calls for a specific type of woven fabric, which is a lightweight cotton polyester blend, which I essentially don't have any left in my stash after sewing through it for the summer. So I took a trip to Dallas, Texas, and I visited the fabric shops. I think it's called Fabric Row at this point. It used to be called like the Fabric District, but there are only 4 remaining stores. So it's essentially called Fabric Row. And I went, paid them a visit. I figured I'd bring you along with me as I went into the shops, just to give you a very small snippet of what it looks like and what the experience is like, and then share with you all of the things that I brought. So the first stop that I shopped at was Fabrictopia. Now, I rarely have gone into this shop in the past because it used to have like something about spandex on its like name, and I typically don't sew with spandex, so I just figured it just wasn't a place that I needed to frequent. However, after hanging out with some sewing peoples, they told me that they actually do have a very good selection. Their prices are competitive, and they rotate their stock out to where they have new and interesting things. So I decided to pop in there. Now, as I said, I was on a mission. I'm specifically looking for woven fabrics, and in this shop I found 2 fabrics in particular. The first is this gorgeous hot pink crepe back satin. I mean, wowzers. And when I was picking up this fabric, they had a few other options. So they had it in like a, you know, that pumpkin spice orange color that I feel like is really perfect for fall. However, I have found that when I specifically curate my wardrobe to the colder months in terms of not only like silhouettes and types of fabrics, but colors, there comes a point in winter where I begin to be really affected by that. During the winter months, it gets really dark and it gets really dreary. And if all I'm wearing is like these dark colors that lack vibrancy, and the skies are gray and the trees are basically in hibernation and their leaves are gone, it takes a toll on my mood. And so this fall winter season, I want to inject some color into my wardrobe, and not just your typical shades of browns and oranges, you know, like those fall type jewel tones, which I still love and I'll be playing around with, but definitely just injecting more color into my wardrobe. And this is one of the ways that I plan to do it. I want to make a skirt out of this. There's a pattern that I am currently working on, which was honestly the reason for me going down there in the first place. I've designed the pattern specifically for like lighter weight cottons, wovens. But I feel like a hot pink satin floaty ruffle hemmed skirt would just be so delicious and so exciting for the coming months. So I went ahead and I picked up 3 yards of this fabric. This fabric was, I think, $8 a yard. Next, I went ahead and I looked at their denim section. There's a shop on Fabric Road that I specifically always go to for their denims. However, their denims tend to be more of the darker denims, and the process of washing and soaking to really get out like the bleed of that deep blue indigo color, just it gets to me. I don't always enjoy it. All that to say, I just didn't want that particular denim this time around. So I checked out the denims in Fabrictopia and I came across this. Now I think the camera is going to pick up on it, but there is definitely a sheen to it. It's this dark charcoaly gray color, which appeals to me because I typically don't wear black. I shy away from black fabrics. And so this is a nice charcoaly gray color. It has like a sheen to it, which I couldn't figure out at first. And it had me thinking, was it even denim to begin with? I bought it anyway because I really like the color and I really like the drape of it. And there is a Bottega Veneta skirt. The picture went viral and I think that this skirt would be really easy to recreate. So I want to try my hand at it. So I think I'm going to record that, so I'll get more into the details of it at that time. But I knew that I wanted a substantial amount of denim to attempt to recreate this skirt. So I got 4 yards of this, and the lady at the cutting counter was quite generous. So when I came home and all was said and done, I actually have a little over 4.5 yards of it, which is going to be more than enough to recreate that skirt. Now, what I realized upon washing this is that the sheen is actually coming from Lurex thread. So it has to be like equal parts denim and Lurex just woven through the fabric, which is giving it like that metallic, shiny feel, but it's not sparkly or silvery, which is more typical of your Lurex threads when they're woven into fabrics usually. But I'm excited to use it. Like I said, I think after seeing like my little lint tray in the washing machine and seeing all the Lurex thread that was threaded through it, I think there's a good chance that the rest of it is still cotton. But even if it's not, it's fall. We don't need breathable right now. We'll survive. After I left Fabrictopia, I went ahead and I went over to Wherehouse Fabrics. Now, specifically when I go to Wherehouse Fabrics, I'm going for 2 reasons. Their remnants bin, or I am going because there is a specific fabric that I have in mind that I know they carry. Their selection tends not to change very often or very much, but the things that they have, they seem to have had consistently. And so like I said, if I'm looking for a very specific thing, then that's where I will be. So I hit up the remnant bin, and there were a couple of cuts of fabrics in there that really were like speaking to me, but they weren't speaking to me in the right way. As I am definitely turning a corner in like my style. I will link the video where I kind of talk about that briefly, but the prints just weren't the types of prints that I am currently going for. So I didn't find much in the remnant bin, but I did come away with 2 things. The first thing is this gorgeous, like vibrant blue. It's very lightweight, kind of silky to the touch. There's about 3 yards of it. It's pretty thin, and I think after like really thinking about it, after washing it and touching it, I think this may actually be a lining fabric, which is not typically used obviously for anything on the outer part. However, I bought this fabric because I also want to make a different type of skirt out of this fabric. I think that the body of the fabric has enough stiffness to it so it'll hold structure well, but it's also just light and floaty, and I feel like it'll catch the wind very nicely. Just a really dramatic moment, and this color is so incredibly good. So like I said, I got 3 yards of it. I think it might be a lining. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments, but even if it is, I still intend to use it as an outer garment. It was $3 a yard because it was in the remnant bin. Now, I know I said I didn't go there for denim, and I didn't go there for denim. However, in their remnant bin, they had an off cut of their denim. This is a little over a yard, a little under 1.5 yards, and it's in that indigo blue color. that I was trying to get away from, but for $3, I knew they weren't going to charge me for the half, so they just charged me for 1 yard. So it was $3. I'm not going to pass it up. Now with this, I want to make another one of the vest that I am wearing now. If you saw my video where I did all of the thrift flips, then you will have seen the process of me making this vest. I exclusively have made the dress pattern using quilted fabrics. But I really, really like this version. It's just so much more laid back and it's wearable for right now. Like my quilted versions are a little bit too warm to break out just yet. And so I would love to sew up like a denim version of this. And so I have this and I have this in mind for that specific thing. Lastly, I needed a lightweight woven fabric and I needed a lot of it. And so I picked up this seersucker gray fabric. The camera is not going to pick it up from like me to you, but it is actually a very, very, very tiny gingham print. It's seersucker, it's very lightweight, and I think it's just going to be perfect for the next mock-up that I need to do. It was also only $5 a yard, so I got about 4 yards of it, and it is incredibly wide. Like I think it is a true 60-inch wide fabric, which means that I will be able to stretch this and not just use it for the one project that I needed it for, because that one project already requires a ton of fabric, but I'll definitely be able to get like 2 projects out of this fabric. So this was, like I said, just a necessity pickup. I knew that they'd have like woven lightweight cottons. I knew they'd be a pretty decent price point and I knew I could grab a lot of it. So I got this. Now the last, what am I doing? Sorry. Now the last shop over there on Fabric Road that I stopped into was Petra's. There's one more shop there which is called Best Fabrics. I typically don't go in there because they have a lot more upholstery and like special occasion fabric than they do apparel fabric, which is what I'm shopping for. 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, I'm shopping for apparel fabric, let's be real. So I went into Petra's, and Petra's is another one of the specialty stores. Like they typically have like your nicer special occasion fabrics, and I knew, like I said, that I wasn't necessarily looking for those, but it's just always fun to go in there and look because the fabrics are so beautiful. However, I came away with 2 things surprisingly. The first thing is this cotton poplin and this floral print. Now I love a good floral print, but I am slowly getting away from like the ditzy florals, which has kind of been like my staple floral print in the past, and I'm looking for more like larger scale floral prints. Now this one isn't incredibly large, but it's large enough, and the color is so vibrant. Like I've already washed and dried it and it's still just coming through so nice. Like you can tell that it was dyed very, very well. It's a nice stiff cotton poplin, and it is again incredibly wide. I think it's another one of those true 60-inch wide fabrics. I believe I got 4 yards of that because I also want to use that after I finish mocking up the skirt pattern that I'm currently developing. I want to use that for an actual sample to photograph and all of that good stuff. So I knew I would need a substantial amount of that. They had it in some other colorways, like they had it in a blue, which I'm kind of on the fence about going back and getting maybe next month when I take another trip down there. But for what it is and the print and everything, I think it was a really good deal. The print also reminds me, there's a Liberty print. There's a Liberty print that I feel like is very, very close. Is it gonna focus? Focus. There we go. There's a Liberty print that I feel like is very, very close to this print. And I kind of like that. But when I saw it initially and I felt it on the boat, I was like, oh, this kind of feels like a lawn. But after washing it and the fabric like after washing it and the fabric kind of shaping up the way that it's always going to be, it's definitely a poplin. Okay, the last thing that I got there is definitely a wild card, but I'm very, very excited about it. And it is this crushed, I don't know if this is like a satin. I don't know what this is. It's pretty thin. It's this gorgeous champagne color, and it's, I don't know, it's just so interesting. It's so thick, but it's so light. Like the thickness comes from the texture and not the fabric in and of itself. The fabric in and of itself is actually like pretty thin. But yeah, the denseness comes from the texture of the fabric, but it's so light. And I was actually on FaceTime with my sister when I saw this, and we were kind of going back and forth about what I would actually use it for. And then she was like, you know, that looks like it would be really nice for one of your puffy sleeve dresses, and it clicked for me in that moment. I recently created a dress pattern that has these giant puffy sleeves and this densely gathered skirt, and I think this fabric would be so perfect for it. It would make it more of like a special occasion fun dress. That dress pattern was also created like, it was kind of my ode to the 80s, like the excessive nature of the 80s dress silhouettes. And so I think pairing this fabric with it would really bring that vision to life. I also have a birthday coming up very, very soon in a couple of months. And I think this would be a really fun option for my birthday dress. Now I have other plans that are much grander for my birthday dress this year, but usually I set these really large, lofty plans for my birthday dress, and my birthday is right off of the heels of Thanksgiving, for which I am gone that entire like week, and then I come back and literally it's my birthday, and so those plans usually don't come to fruition. And I usually end up either wearing something that I made the year before or just not making anything new at all. And so I'm gonna hold on to the dream, and I'm gonna continue to plan out this really elaborate, beautiful dress. But this is definitely a more realistic dress that I could make for my birthday, and I am equally as excited about it as I would be about anything else. All right, guys, and that is it for this video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments below what you think. What fabrics have you picked up for this fall season ahead? What do you think about my plans of kind of not necessarily ditching the traditional fall colors, but actually embracing color in the fall and not putting it off? Very awkward, but somewhere in the middle of my outro, my camera cut off. And so I think I left on the part where I say, until next time, stay beautiful, make great things. I'll talk to you later. Oh, really quickly, this channel is going back to a weekly upload schedule of uploading every Sunday. So you can always look for me on Sundays. And if I will not show up on that day, then I will make sure to include it in the community post. I will have sporadic weekly videos, but those are just gonna be when I have kind of like an overflow of ideas or some extra time and I just want to kind of kick back and do something fun. But definitely be on the lookout for me every Sunday going forward. Until next time, stay beautiful, make great things. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.